You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis show. My guests here are Kweku Bako, Kofi Bento, Yabuabin Amoah, and John Junapo. A parent just walked in right here to us and pointed out something to us. And I got really surprised about that because all along, I have been going to Contestable and I thought the place I access is actually the child emergency. But from what he tells us, that's rather a makeshift place that is now being used as child emergency. But the Contestable child emergency has been shut down for 6 years now. Child emergency.
Why?
This man, you should hear him and the passion with which he speaks to all of us here just a while ago, a minute ago that he left our presence. His wife has to sit in a chair, and then his sickle, cell child has to be held, in the lap whilst blood is being transfused. I mean, you can imagine. That is the situation we are talking about here. And this is Contestable. This is supposed to be the number one, the most important place as far as, tertiary health provision is concerned.
So why, and what's the solution to that?
That's the question. Now, let me just finish a portion of the Ghana Medical Association statement because it's important. It gives us the way forward. Among the things that they suggested, they also want that there must be improved linkages and referral systems between health facilities. The ministry should enforce its policy guidelines on emergency care and discourage referrals by low-level health facilities to tertiary care centers directly without going through the agreed levels of care. And you see, they have instructions to obey. When you go there, the nurses, wherever you go, they need you to show proof of the referral. Because if you don't show that, they have a difficulty. They are working with rules.
Protocols.
Yes. I have gone to Contestable late in the night, and the nurse begins to mess me up because I can't listen to anything that the nurse is talking about because I'm looking at my child, and that's all. Now I have to call a doctor who comes in to say, please, can you shut up? Let's take care of the child first. So that's the situation. Can we improve that where you require everybody to come with a written referral before you are taken care of? Then they say internal policy and Ministry of Health guidelines must be strengthened so that payment would not be required before emergencies are rendered. Payment will not be required before emergencies are rendered. Someone gets to some place, a public health center, and they are told that unless you do this and go and pay this, you will not be attended to. That is also wrong. That's what the doctors are saying. We should look at that. And finally, emergency room workers must be educated and reoriented to maintain the attitude required for such personnel. We believe that the implementation of the policy guidelines on emergency care will go a long way in addressing these identified problems, whilst frontline workers may be culpable in some situations. A lot of the problems that bedevil the emergency center, so I think ER, that's what they are referring to, care, are systemic. It is our hope that the joint committee set up to investigate this matter will unravel the circumstances that resulted in the death of this 70-year-old man and subsequently lead to the institutionalization of measures that would lead to improvement of emergency care. I have two more lines, paragraphs to read. And I'm told we have a bit of extension for the show because of this, so I shouldn't rush it. The Ghana Medical Association, that's the GMA, would like to urge the media to exhibit circumspection and sensitivity to the ethical and sociocultural norms in reportage on healthcare issues. The sensationalism and vilification of healthcare professionals in these reports without recourse to the root causes of these unfortunate health outcomes have the tendency to create despondency in otherwise dedicated staff and cause demoralization. We call on all doctors and healthcare professionals to continue to offer their selfless, dedicated services according to their professional training and ethical standards with the limited resources available for the benefit of all. And this is signed by Dr. Titus Bayo, Assistant General Secretary.
Please, it's important.
Yeah.
You said something about the systemic issues and collection of money, etc.
Right.
We've said that it seems like if people have money, they get beds. Now, I'm reading from the Ministry of Health, Accident and Emergency Services policy document we have been talking about, 2011, page 14, subsection 10 on financing. It says that all accident and emergency patients should be attended to without requesting for money during the first 48 hours. Sources of finances for emergency services will come from the following areas: Government of Ghana, National Health Insurance Authority, and private health insurance.
So this is why the GMA is saying this should be enforced.
Yes. Right. So it's there. Now, enforcing should be a local issue. Okay. And the politicians or the managers should take on the people who don't enforce it. And when they ask you for the money, release it.
Okay.
Because it's there.
Thank you.
That last paragraph is instructive.
You are right.
Where it says implement. Just go back to it. It's instructive. Like you're saying.
Implement.
Yes. Yeah, supervise. The supervision is so critical. You see, when it says that we believe that the implementation of the policy guidelines on emergency care will go a long way. So the question is primary responsibility for that implementation.
Right.
Politicians and line managers. So politicians investing resources and supervising the line managers, and people taking the fall for not performing.
So do it.
That's the question I have in this country.
Doctors have to go on strike before we take care of them.
Nobody takes the fall for anything.
Doctors have to go on strike before we take care of their concerns. Nurses have to go on strike before we take care of their concerns.
Now we have a president who appears prepared to enforce.
But we just had a catastrophic failure.
Yes. So we will go to other places and you find that we are going to GFA. Government has taken drastic steps.
Thank you.
So we will see what will happen in this case.
Let's see what will happen in this case.
We will see what will happen in this case. Nana is prepared to enforce.
Good. Let's hear the 1 minute.
You see something. All these things we are discussing here, we agree that it's systemic. Look, the solutions, the committee, whatever recommendation they are going to come out with, we know them. The problem is implementation. That is the problem.
Supervision.
And supervision.
Leadership.
If you don't show leadership, and that's why I said that all of us must agree that we have failed in one way or the other.
That's how we all began.
It's not about this administration or that administration. But look, the most important thing is that today, somebody is in charge.
Thank you very much.
And that person must be held liable.
You
just read the doctor to patient ratio.
Thank you very much.
We have moved from 8,000 to 9,000.
And we are still
stopping
people from coming.
That must be worrying to you.
Government.
That in 2016 you were 8,000.
Thank you.
You have deteriorated to 9,000.
Thank you.
And you are comfortable with that. The Minister of Finance.
You have heard Madame Gloria Akufu say that we don't add rotting soup to fresh soup. I mean, how else to give the imagery of the situation? Government begins the process to dissolve the GFA. It has secured an injunction and it has set up an interim committee to run football in the country. The AG told the court, the High Court here in Accra, that the GFA has sunk so low, was irredeemable. Sounds like Kubako about 3-4 weeks ago. Has sunk so low, was irredeemable, and needs to be reconstituted. She said GFA had become a tool for defrauding by false pretenses, money laundering, and other activities which are not the objects of the association. That leading officials had resorted to defrauding unsuspecting members of the public in the selection of players for the national team and the appointment of referees for matches. ANAS has petitioned the Bank of Ghana, EOCO, and the Attorney General to prove Nyantakyi for money laundering. And all of this is happening in the week that Kwesi Nyantakyi has resigned from FIFA, from CAF, and from WAFU. Let's listen to the Attorney General in court, and then hear Anas give a bit of a defense to the criticism that he's receiving, and then we'll hear Kweku Bako tell us what the petition to EOCO, to BOG, and the AG is all about, and we'll take it on from there.
That the GFA, as constituted presently, is not performing the objects for which it was incorporated. And from the Anas video, clearly, it's being used as a vehicle for illegality. And the government cannot sit back, and therefore the Attorney General, as the protector of the public interest. Because remember, government puts in a lot of support, be it financial or logistic. So we cannot spend even 1 second. And significantly, if you go back to the Jamepe Commission report, it's a clear indication that these things have been going on for far too long. And in fact, when you look at the video, the perpetrators themselves testify to the fact that it is normal, that is the modus. So it was felt that we have to urgently arrest the situation pending the determination of the petition. As justice, as a person who should be promoting justice, I will not refuse to hear them. But that should not change the process we have started. I have not received, you are telling me for the first time, I do not know about this intended meeting, but anybody, as a public servant, anybody who seeks to me, as much as it's practicable, I will see. As to the outcomes, I cannot predict. I can only say categorically that we will go on with this petition. Not only the players, those of us who watch also want to watch. But we can't pretend we are running a good FA with all these things that are going on.
Let me make it very clear that nothing has changed. Methods, everything from the judges scandal, from the Osu Children's Home scandals is same. We have not changed anything. Undercover would always remain the last resort. Where the conventional camera cannot work, that's when we look up to undercover. And I must say that we strictly abide by the BBC Ofcom rules before we decide that we are coming in to do an undercover piece. Our prima facie evidence would have been in place for everybody else who was caught up in our film. There was a prima facie evidence. Then again, issues of privacy and public interest. We have weighed it. We think that the public interest outweighs everything. Those who think we just carry the camera and just do what we want, it's not true. We strictly abide by the rules. That's why we are able to play on the international stage. Now, people have spoken about entrapment and all that in this particular investigation. And when they say that, they make specific reference to our encounter with Kwesi Nyantakyi. Look, this is the chronology of events. Now we get to the base where the investigation is going to be conducted. The man is welcomed from the airport. He gets into his hotel room. And the first thing he begins to tell us is how to scam the GFA. He gives us a proper procedure, something that I did not even know.
Right, so we had Attorney General Gloria Kufu and also Anas Arameyao Anas. Kweku, so the new twist is that he sent petitions to the Bank of Ghana, EOCO, the Attorney General, and as we hear, the Bank of Ghana, there's some sort of directive in respect of his petition. What exactly is involved?
Well. We have, look, you have a coin, and two sides of a coin. Huh? On one side is the cacophony of criticisms of his methodologies. and the motive questioning of Tiger Eye. That noise is ongoing, it's unfolding. We are in a democracy, so people can live with that. You can't stop it. On the other side of the coin is the focused approach. The petition has gone out to FIFA, dated June 4th, to the FIFA Ethics Committee. Petition has gone out to the Attorney General. The documentary, as well as the raw project itself, gone out to the police CID, some also to the AG, to investigate some issues. So Tiger Eye remains focused on the substance of the project that it undertook. The noise can continue. All the attacks on him and his organization are allowed. Those who want to pursue that path should proceed.
You say he welcomes criticism. He's actually also confirmed that he's better at what he's doing now because of criticism. So is it fair to describe the criticism as noise?
Sections of the criticisms are nothing but ugly noises and accusations and bastardization and criminalization. Some are empty, ugly. Even when you expose them, they don't agree that you've exposed them. When you expose them using records, public records and facts, they still don't agree. But there are those that are doing serious intellectual critique and raising issues. Those ones are accepted on board, and it helps to move his own project up and develop him too. I've always drawn that extension. Yeah. So now is the focused approach. See, government that's through the AG has taken steps in spite of the noises. People who challenge those things in terms of the law are entitled to do so.
Right.
But they've gone to court. They were able to get an injunction. Is it 10 days?
Yes, it's ex parte.
So interim.
10 days.
Taking steps to dissolve the GFA. I have my own reservations when it comes to those things, which is public knowledge. But it's a government acting, using the law. Those who have problems must also use the law to contest it.
Right.
As I said 2 days ago or so, he handed over to the police the evidence that they want in order to be deepen their investigations. Same things have gone to the Attorney General, and as you said, the petition to all those institutions.
And we understand that the banks have been directed to release Nyantakyi's bank details. That's from the Financial Intelligence Center of the Bank of Ghana. Is he now using this route because, as many lawyers have suggested, what is before the police about false pretense and all of that will not wash criminally?
It is not for him to determine whether what is before the police will wash or not. What is before the police was a complaint from the president to the police. And the police are investigating. What is before the Attorney General goes beyond the specific coverage or scope of the police. He's talking here even of money laundering and all those things. You see, if you listen, and I'm going to be very careful, because I do not want to create a situation where I sit here and put Mr. Nyantakyi on trial. Really, we have even come to a certain consensus on this table that we should try as much as possible not to use the media to try people. But I'm just trying to point out a pattern. You see, the interaction with Mr. Nyantakyi in terms of the football sponsorship, it pointed to a certain pattern. The GFA, they have their rules and regulations in terms of sponsorship. They have how you go about it, accounts that must be used and all the rest. Now, if you listen carefully, if you watch the video, and indeed they have given the AG 9 experts, list of attachments, 9 in all. Okay, I'm not sure I should read them out. But some also, the memorandum of understanding that were signed, both the handwritten one and the typewritten one, the companies that were listed as the companies to receive the payments and all those things, which happen to be most of them owned by Mr. Nyantakyi and the rest. there's a pattern. Question. That pattern, did it occur in the previous sponsorships? I don't know the answer yet. If I knew, I wouldn't say it. But the point is that that pattern, in terms of transfers of monies, sponsorship monies, that don't belong to an individual, but would end up in an individual's personal account. Is that right or wrong? I'm not prepared to say anything yet. But that pattern is the basis for the petitions.
Okay, so that's a suspicion on the basis of what has been uncovered.
Suspicions? Not really. I'm being very careful. I said attachments. There are attachments. There are email correspondences. There are certain things that will come on board as investigation proceeds. So if you said suspicions and left it there, it would be unfair, as far as I know.
I'm asking that because they speak and he refers to specific companies which have been traced to himself, and some of which companies he actually signs on their behalf.
Sure.
Whilst he signs as the GFA president as well.
Sure.
So these are the entities where the monies would have gone to before any disbursements are made, and then percentages that are supposed to be benefited will come through them. So the question is, on that basis, Anas is having a suspicion that previous contracts with the GFA may have been used, the same thing would have been used, because this present one, no money has exchanged.
Suspicion. Maybe you lawyers would say reasonable suspicion.
Okay.
But as I said, it's time to exercise a lot of caution and be fair, because now we've moved from the stage of just talking. It's a stage of investigations.
Right.
Investigations by institutions of state that are mandated to do those investigations. Tiger Eye and Anas will be cooperating with those institutions. They will be giving further and better particulars to support some of these things that have gone there. I'm not about to sit here and do a full disclosure. I can't do that.
Okay.
But I'm suggesting that because they believe they have more to show, that certain things have been happening over a period of time, they have moved one step forward beyond mere allegation making to petition appropriate institutions of state so that they can offer those evidences to back their case. It's better I don't go into details.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah.
Because don't forget, everybody is listening to us too. Plaintiffs, defendants, complainants, everybody, they are all listening.
I know. I know. Yes. Yeah. So a number of things have happened, and like we keep saying, this matter, almost by the minute, something new develops. Now, in the week when, this man who is already down has resigned from the top jobs, 3 of them, FIFA, CAF, and WAFU, you thought that it's just the Ghana aspect of what is going to go on by way of investigation to criminal matters would have been. Now, it's being expanded to money laundering, and it does look like, it's getting worse for him.
I think four things are happening simultaneously, all from, as you've always said, fallout from number 12. The first being the decisiveness of the government in moving in to deal with the perceived rot and corruption in the FA. Now, as a private association, legal issues have been raised about the government's right to do that. But the government is also making a very strong argument about public interest, focused on attacking criminality and, in that process, protecting public image and investments, because government invests in national teams as well as facilities that are being used. So, as to whether government is on the right path or not in this process of seeking a dissolution of the GFA in court, I think anybody involved who has doubt should also meet the government in court, because after all, they are yet to argue the substantive dissolution matter. But for now, they have an interim injunction against the FA and barring them from any official activities. And that is why I believe the group who are presenting themselves as the FA Executive Committee and putting up people to try and run the FA otherwise ought to be cautious.
Those who wanted to, the two officials who wanted to go to Russia,
they
were stopped.
Exactly, because now the court is involved, and the court has granted an interim injunction along the terms that the AG wanted, which was to stop them doing anything official on behalf of the government through the FA. So that process and whatever legal doubts exist, I think we're in the right forum, and it's going on, and I like the decisiveness there. The second thing that is happening is football reform. Again, there are issues about whether or not we are on the right path when we ask for reform and government proposes and sets up a 5-man committee. But we are in very fluid times where this matter is concerned. We are in very, very fluid times, and something must happen. And in that sense, I think Dr. Amoah, having been given that mandate, has to exercise statesmanship and try and see how he gets the football fraternity around him. Because if the court decides that the GFA ought to be dissolved, then everything about football hangs up in the air. And the Amoah committee becomes critical to the future of the sport. And that means he must be able to bring as many people who can help to restructure as possible. In any event, you're not going to reinvent the wheel. You are just cleaning up something that seems to have gone really off the wheels and bad. So the football reform process, much as the initial announcement of the committee has been met by people questioning some of the persons on the committee or others, I don't think it's a closed process. I think Dr. Amoah has the sagacity to be able to open up and get people on board and get things going, because his mandate is clear. His mandate is clear. And don't forget that once the GFA is being dissolved, that mandate is not being performed in the context of the GFA as it stands. It's being performed outside that, because the GFA, if the court grants the dissolution process, will travel through to a logical conclusion where its assets and everything will be dealt with by the Registrar General. Then you have the third leg, which is the criminal proceedings. Like Weku said, the president reported and now announced himself as the investigator, has petitioned formally. And once the Financial Intelligence Center has issued that letter, I believe they think they have a prima facie case to look at whether or not money laundering activities have gone on. That is the criminal part. Then the boogie in the hole, the fourth part, which is the international bit. I have just read that CAF is organizing an extraordinary congress to replace him because he resigned legitimately. But the boogie is whether or not FIFA is going to have the moral authority to tell the government of Ghana that they are interfering. That is the question. Because if FIFA, erstwhile, in good times, was able to insulate the beautiful sport from political interference and have indeed grown the sport to a very high level, including financial inflows or otherwise, but was not able to develop processes to control greed and internal self-aggrandizement, self-seeking, and other things, to the extent that itself, FIFA itself, was attacked by the American government and Swiss authorities and was compelled to reform, does it still have the moral right and authority to tell another government which seeks to do a cleanup along the lines that happened at FIFA headquarters itself from interfering? You understand what I'm saying? Has the principle of third-party non-interference been breached by the happenings at FIFA level itself? That is very fluid. That we don't know yet, and we don't know how FIFA is going to react to this process. But as far as the pragmatic requirements are concerned, I think at this point in time, we are on the right path.
Okay. So, John, would you like to take it from the setting up of this, committee headed by Dr. Kofi Amoah? We know that Dr. Kofi Amoah will chair it. We know that football people that we have a lot of respect for are in it. Kujo Fiano, who is a 3-time African Player of the Year, Kujo Fiano of the Galka, and then 3-time African Player of the Year, Abedi Pele is there. You have Reverend Osei Kofi and also sports journalist and lawyer Eva Ochre, who are there. You believe that whilst all of these things are going on, the decision to set up this entity will help so that there's no lacuna, not a vacuum, so to speak. But people are saying the FA itself had come up with a 7-member committee. So what goes on?
Thank you, Thompson. I would want to follow from where Honorable left off. First of all, I think that the government is riding on public sentiments, public anxiety, a very populist move, but a very dangerous move. I don't support what government is doing at all, and I'll give you reasons. In 2014, the Nigerian government went to the federal courts and secured an injunction against the Nigerian Federation. They were banned by FIFA. Same, exactly what we are doing. Following the fiasco, I think in Brazil or so, they went to court, secured a court injunction. FIFA banned Nigeria. Now you can't compare the American situation to Ghana's situation. Yes, the Americans raided it, but the government never suspended any official of FIFA. The government didn't set up an interim body to manage FIFA. So how do you compare the two? Look,
We had the temerity to raid FIFA.
Do you realize
saying
that the majority of opinion in the country now is that this is an extraordinary situation? You need extraordinary methods and efforts, and that in any case, we don't care if FIFA decides to issue a ban.
Fine, if that is the consensus, that look, let's take steps, FIFA can ban us, we'll live on our own, we don't care, that is fine. But I'm saying that, look, Honorable raised an issue whether FIFA can intervene. And I'm saying that under similar circumstances, apple for apple, FIFA banned Nigeria. I'm saying that comparing the American situation to our situation is comparing oranges to apples. The Americans raided like we did during President Mills' time when we went there to investigate in terms of criminal issues. You don't take the extra step to begin to run the affairs of the Football Federation. Already, GACA has indicated that they won't cooperate with this 5-member committee. And GACA constitutes the bulk of the Ghana League. That's the Ghana League Club. They say that, look, this committee you've put in place is alien. They will not cooperate with them. And I've even taken steps to recall Kujofiano from that committee. I've heard GACA members contest what the Attorney General stated, that you don't put fresh soup in rotten soup, by pointing out to members on that committee and claiming that they are rotten meat. So in the first instance, they are not even fresh as you claim. I think that what government ought to do is to step back, invite GACA and the entire football fraternity and dialogue. Already, GACA, as you said, has taken steps. Asked for an extraordinary Congress, asked the ethics committee chaired by, I think, ACP or Kofi Boakye, to deal with it and prefer sanctions. That is what FIFA did. When the issue of Sepp Blatter came up, the ethics committee of FIFA stepped in, took the necessary action, reformed itself, and FIFA is killing today. So I thought that what government would have done is that, look, we provide the bulk of the money. The people of Ghana are angry. This is the roadmap. Let's collectively work together. But Samson, you are a lawyer and you may guide us. You have a car. Maybe it's a trotro. I'm government. I take you to court and say that, look, you are not running the car well. So you should be enjoined. You cannot run the car. The court says, yes, you can run the car. I'm giving you 10 days, come back. Then government goes back to appoint another driver that come and run the car and manage the car in the interim.
Is that analogy quite?
What kind of look, you have gone to court. And that's why I'm putting that to you. I want you to guide us. You have gone to court. Can I make my point? Can I make my point? The FA has not been dissolved as we speak.
That's true.
It's not been dissolved.
Yeah. The government is only in a process. The government is only in a process. What the government has done is to file.
We just finished
the process. What the government has done is to file the process in court. That allows it to expect the court to ask the Registrar General, who is official liquidator, to liquidate the GFA. Now, after filing that, the law allows the state to also file for an interim injunction. and they went for the interim injunction, which is an ex-party, you go alone. You don't go with the other side coming. They have gone. And the law also says when you go for that one, you are giving only a short time. They have been giving 10 days.
Fantastic.
What it means now is that there is an opportunity for the GFA to show up in court subsequently to make its argument why government should not be allowed to do what it is doing.
Yes, and I'm saying that whilst taking that step, 10 days, all of you come back to court, argue your case, the court will make a determination. The court may or may not grant whatever relief they are seeking. I'm saying that does it sit well that whilst you've asked this party not to administer football, not to take decisions, you, the other party, turns around and appoint a 5-member committee
before the petition is determined.
And ask them to what are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? To do what?
Okay.
To do what? So that's what they send them to administer.
Let me come to Kofi now. Kofi, see, I will not answer him, but I can say he has a legitimate point.
Yes, I agree.
Where do you take it on from there?
Look, so let's deal with this one. We need to now decide what exactly this 5-member committee is supposed to do. What you have to appreciate is that government is there. They have other things to do. This has emerged. This is an agent or an arm of government supposed to keep an eye on these things. That's how I understand it. They're not supposed to go, hold on.
They are supposed to oversee football administration in the country as government takes steps to dissolve.
Correct. Very good. So my understanding is they are not supposed to run GFA. Okay, they are not supposed to run GFA. They are supposed to oversee.
So the GFA 7-member committee is going on. Is the one to run football.
You see,
is that what you're saying?
No, hold on. There is GFA. Let me make my own submission now. First, what is popular is not always proper, and we must make that distinction very well. The government is riding on this sentiment. It's populist. It is popular. But there is what is proper, that is due process. As far as I'm concerned, the government is going through due process. I have filed a case for a client of mine against a certain other company, and we are asking an order of the court to the Registrar General to strike that company off the list of companies for good reason, and we know we'll succeed. That is what the government is doing.
No, he's saying that.
No. Let me make my submission. No. So I'm saying there is a proper process to go through.
Yes, but in your case, you cannot set up an interim committee to take care of anything.
No. Let me finish. Let me finish.
If you can set up one, it will be by the order of the court.
No, I haven't finished. I said so. The proper process is there. They are going through it. In the meantime, this is a country where people play football. What if tomorrow our Black Stars, which still exists, wants to go and play Iceland?
Oh, I beg you. Allow him to explain. Please.
I beg you. I'm not talking about the league.
You will be surprised.
I'm not talking about Galka. Galka is a group of people. They have their rights. And I agree with them if they say they're not going to cooperate with this group. But the truth is, this group is not asking them to cooperate on anything. If tomorrow the national women's team wants to go and play in Nigeria, who is supposed to handle it?
The committee.
The ministry through that committee.
The national teams are owned by the state.
Yes, the ministry will handle it. So the point, my understanding is very clear. Look, let me say this. If that committee is told to go and run GFA, it's wrong. That is wrong. But I don't think that's what they've been told to do. They've been told to more or less take care of the interim issues regarding football in Ghana.
But the important point is that no one can run GFA for now.
Exactly. So the fact that people want GFA to be gutted and torn apart is popular, but it's not proper. And the government is doing the proper thing for now.
Okay.
Now, on the issue of ANAS, I think it's important when we talk about these criticisms, and because there's a lot of that also flowing out. Criticisms are different from baseless accusations. Criticisms make us all stronger. We listen, we take what is good, and we move on from there. But ANAS is clearly going to have to make a distinction between the criticisms proper and the baseless accusations, which, like we are saying, they've answered to so many times. So I think we should not mix those things concerning what ANAS has done. He's done a good job. Now it falls to the government to do what they have to do, and they are on the right path. I don't think this interim committee is supposed to run GFA. And that's why Galka is right if they say they will not cooperate with them. They should also be circumspect in how they stress, stretch themselves.
Football by
right? Because they must appreciate that they can't run football. GFA, but they can manage the emergent issues regarding football in Ghana in the interim.
Chief,
when what the sorry 1 minute. When what the Attorney General is doing now is in full compliance with the law, your Companies Act sections, as in 210 thereabout and 209 thereabout, it will be for members of the association to be able to start this kind of process to liquidate it, and not an outsider. But when they are depending on the official liquidation act, which they are using, they have the opportunity to do what they are doing, and they have made that decision.
Yes.
What should happen whilst the process is going on?
To football, General?
Yes.
Okay, so my understanding is, one, government has some responsibility, but football is essentially private in Ghana. Football clubs are private organizations. They now are what we call GALCA. Okay, they can go ahead and do what they want to do. Remember, I am lawyer for Great Olympics. We recently took the GFA up. We had the league suspended. This issue came up. What do we do? And one of the meetings we had, we told them that, look, you teams under GALCA can actually start your league. So they can run what they want to run, even without GFA. Nothing stops them, no law bars them. But there are aspects of football which are both national and international. And if those things come up now, if the Black Queens want to go and play in Angola now, and it's a matter of the Ghana government's responsibility, okay, there is a government arm from the ministry, from the presidency, that will take care of that. Because note that GFA is private, and frankly speaking, even when GFA existed, some of us thought that it shouldn't be running Black Stars, because that was a source of a lot of confusion and corruption. So, Samson, the simple matter is this: the private aspect of football can go ahead. GALCA can organize its own whatever and refuse to cooperate with the government committee. But when it comes to football that touches the nation and touches international issues and that kind of thing, I think there will be something that the government has to do, and I think they have a committee to do that. We don't know what FIFA will do, but it is true that FIFA lacks a certain moral high ground today. Things are different now from what they were in the Nigerian situation. Okay. And I do think that FIFA will be minded to make football healthier. And nobody can argue with the facts of what Anas has found out. So we shouldn't all go and think as if we know exactly what's going on.
In a minute,
let's go through the proper process.
What do you make about the new twist to EOCO, to the AG, the petitions that has led to the FIC, asking the banks to bring the financial details of...
It's sad. I'm ambivalent about that. I really wish that we would not do that. Because here we are, basically, Nyantakyi and those people are unraveling. It could have very serious personal repercussions on them. But what came
does it sound like fishing?
It is fishing. But the thing is, if there's no fish, you won't catch anything. Okay, so my issue is, now who calls them? Term limits are necessary for you, the person being limited, as it is necessary for the organization. Today we have Nyantakyi, who was omnipotent in GFA, dragging the whole GFA down with him, and maybe he's going to suffer personally for it. I don't know, because if I say we shouldn't go there, there's like, what if there's a fish there?
Remember, he's not alone in the...
It's sad. That aspect is sad.
So quickly, 30 seconds, then we'll take a break.
I need to clarify this. Okay. FIFA is an association of various leagues or league clubs. FIFA was formed in 1904.
National federations.
It's a federation. Look, you said that if there is a match in Angola or wherever, this so-called 5-member committee. I'm telling you something. If there's a match in Angola, in wherever, sanctioned by FIFA, this so-called 5-member committee cannot
sponsor it.
No, there's a mistake in what you are saying. No, the GFA, look, technically. No, don't misinform the public. Technically, you can have a GFA and have a different organization running the national sports.
You don't have that organization yet.
No, hold on. We don't have it. So, Mr. Jinabo is creating a situation as if to say that without a GFA, we cannot engage nationally in international competitions. That is FIFA's prerogative.
I'm saying that
we can.
GFA.
We can not.
As far as FIFA is concerned, it's the only body affiliated to GFA today.
Today, people went to the Supreme Court.
And when FIFA has an international match or whatever you call it, this so-called 5-member committee
That
Yes,
international
just an example, a reminder to you. People went to the Supreme
And no
Court.
other country will play with you unless FIFA sanctions it.
People went to the
Which
Supreme
country
Court
will play with you?
as late as 2015 or so, is it 2005, 2015, seeking that the GFA be dealt with as though it was an agency of the state. The Supreme Court was very clear, unequivocal, led by the Chief Justice now, that GFA is a private entity. And it does not matter how much money you put in as a state.
I agree.
You can't deal with it as if it is one of your agencies.
I agree. Now, I'm making a very small point, and let me just make it again. One, the GFA can exist and do everything it is doing under FIFA. But when you come to the national team, as in Black Stars, it does not necessarily have to be run by the GFA.
Which country practices that?
I'm not talking about people.
Thank you. That point is made.
You
also wants to make a
don't need to have the GFA run the
and then we take a break.
Who will run it? It's FIFA's prerogative.
The Amoah committee
has
a huge responsibility to clarify these grey areas.
Right, they should.
But we can't sit here and say and insist that the GFA must exist at all costs. That it is the only body that must necessarily run in Ghana. To the extent that FIFA is unable to provide protocols to manage criminality, the state has that interest and that responsibility.
Don Jinapua is saying, like others have said, that if you have found criminals within the organization, find a way of dealing with those criminals or suspected criminals rather than bring down the entire entity together.
GFA is involved in criminality.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. The processes that are going on.
We take a break here. We take a break here, and when we return, we want to find out whether or not we are so accursed we can't find a means of identifying ourselves as people. We'll be right back.